All right, so the first thing is, let's see, what is today? Today's June 30th, 2013.
June, June 30th, because that's the day we go down to Altadena to look at the Singer.
All right, good. Right. Now, but before I'm leaving, so we're here with Ralph Bush and Lorraine to talk a little bit about and reminisce about the car. And the first question before you get up is, here's the car here, but after 50 years, how could you let it get to this condition? Shame on you. All right, no, come out here. Let's take a look about the car. Now, you've known about the car.
Let him go ahead.
Huh?
You want me in this too?
Oh no, that's fine. Either one is fine.
Well,
we can. We're okay.
Let him do that.
We're just going to talk a little bit about the car.
Okay, he knows
And Ralph, tell me about, where did you get the car? It looks like it was green originally. I'm looking at this. Is that what it was? The original color, or is that a primer, or what?
British Racing Green.
Okay.
And it was owned by a fellow over here by the Rose Bowl, Robbie Robinette.
Okay, so you actually purchased the car, Robbie Robinette, around here in Pasadena.
Well, Robbie Robinette, it had a problem with the rear end.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a Salisbury rear end.
Right.
So he took it to Jack Bates, Frank Moniz, and Johnny McLaughlin Motors on Sierra Madre Boulevard in Pasadena.
Okay.
And to have the rear end worked on. Well, they couldn't find parts. And then he went to pick it up and they lost the cover plate off the differential.
Okay.
So the car sat there and it built up storage fees.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'd like to get a car that is inexpensive that I could build up and race with it. And Robbie said, well, if you want my Singer and you want to pay the storage fees on it, go ahead, because we were both in the Singer Owners Club.
Okay. Now, you had a Singer before this then, too?
I had a Singer before it.
Okay.
And did quite well in competition with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, let's talk it over. So I bought this car from Robbie Robinette. It cost me a cup of coffee and a donut.
I wonder if the donut shop is still in Pasadena?
Yeah. So we went, he then signed it over to me, and I went down, and Johnny McLaughlin, Jack Bates was a friend of my brother's.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to talk Jack Bates into letting me tow the car out of there.
Okay.
And for very little money. So I towed it home and went to Frank Bell's, and we got a cover plate from another Singer Salisbury rear end, and we made a sand casting mold of the cover plate. And so once I had that, then we were ready to go. This Singer was desirable in that it was the twin cam, twin carb.
Okay.
And the twin carbs one were quite a bit more powerful. And of course, power is relative, because back then I think powerful was around 50 horsepower.
Mm-hmm. Dennis, could you get in the little box? There was a twin intake that he might be able to identify for us, another one. So this actually was stock with the twin carbs to come
Yes.
in. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and there's a nomenclature that goes with it that is twin carb and single carb, but my previous one was twin carb, and it didn't have the nomenclature that said it was a twin carb one. So Peter will tell you that the twin carb ones, they have a T after their, I think it's called SM1500T or something like that.
Okay, this came with the car, but it may not be Singer at all. I don't know, but you might know what that might have been. I don't know. Because the carbs are still on this car.
The trick is that that's a side
I believe
draft.
the carburetor is Solex.
This is a side draft. Is this a? Did you?
Downdraft carbs that are on it right now.
I
And they're-
recognize this.
Okay, so you had the standard. These would have been the carbs you raced with. Downdraft, as opposed to a side. These are side draft, right?
Right. Right.
Okay, so this is.
Yeah, this is what we raced with.
Okay, thank you, Dennis.
In fact, you can see on the header, on the exhaust header there, which is a combination exhaust intake manifold, it says Singer right on it. So
Gotcha.
it was a downdraft.
Okay, so did you ever do any modifications to the engine?
Yeah, I did. Oh, that reminds me. Make sure you soak all the parts real good, because I like the smell of castor oil.
Oh yeah.
And so I ran
We found that in the car too.
I ran castor oil in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So you make sure when you go through it, you get the castor oil out of it.
okay, no. What is this we're looking at? Is this what you said about
This
earlier?
is the sand casting
Okay,
that we made for the cover plate on the differential.
okay.
But I don't know, why isn't it drilled? Is there another one? Did I have two?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I could take a look.
You know,
Let's
we
see.
might have made two at the time.
Let's see. I don't know if I can actually see underneath there or not.
I can.
Let's see.
This is a great picture.
I can't see anything on it.
Oh, Dennis, don't get up. Oh, no, you don't want fun.
So
Let's
we made two of them, didn't we?
Dennis, if you could lift the whole back end up.
I got my floor jack. I can go get my floor jack.
No, I actually can. There is a differential cover on this.
Okay, well,
There's
if
an
it is,
access
then,
cover right here.
then we made two. And I polished that one. I thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah, we'll take a look. It's some other kind of thing, but at least we can see it. Okay. Ralph, tell me about these here. These, did someone put this, there's some, I've got to take those off and throw those
Those are the
away.
wheel plates.
Okay, why did
Yeah.
you have wheel plates on those?
Well, the guys who first started racing them, they were notorious for throwing a wheel off.
Thank you, Dennis. Dennis, take
the
a bow,
lug
thank you.
nuts were so small that the wheel would eat through the lug nuts and they would lose wheels.
Well, Rick and I were going through some of the Singer pictures, and there's this famous one we saw, and there's this wheel flying off on the
yeah.
distance. Is that
Yeah.
you?
No, it wasn't me. Thank
Okay, well, you had those plates on there, that's why.
Yeah.
Because I still have the magazine that I got in like 1959 or 1960 showing a Singer with a wheel that had just flown off it, rolling away from the car.
Yeah, right.
As the car is riding very crooked, obviously missing the wheel.
Exactly.
The funniest thing going.
Yeah.
And Jeff, of course, has got that's one of what's called a trend book.
Right.
And so he and I each have it, but I have the original one that I got in either the late 50s or right around 1960 or
Yeah.
so. And so I recall Singers in a racing configuration from that.
So is, when you were racing, I noticed this says a back seat, it's not in here, it says, so you were racing here and Lorraine was in the back guiding you? Is that how the races went?
If
Is that-
she
is that
was,
what
she was
happened?
pounding on my back, calling me an idiot. No, I think the only sitting Lorraine ever did in here was to sit in the driver's seat, pregnant, and pump the brake pedal while I bled the brakes.
You're quite a trooper, Lorraine. Now, you mentioned something here, there was an extension of some sort in here.
Yeah.
What is,
This is the neatest thing,
all right?
and I don't know what you paid for the car, but the price of the car is right there on this adapter
Okay.
for the gear lever.
And what does that allow you to do?
Okay, originally the gear lever came off of the
Rick, can you pull the seat
tranny.
out? You could pull the seat out. We made the seat a little bit. The whole thing comes out. That was an option.
I'm glad it's not rusty or anything.
No, it's in good shape.
Oh, yeah, you got a neat remote there.
Yeah. So the gear lever came out here and had a long handle on it. Well,
Okay.
it's hard to make a good quick shift up and down with the long handle. So at Von Motors, they made up about 25 of these units here, and it cost $25, but it was worth every penny of it.
Let's see.
Yeah, I've got one on my Morgan.
You do?
Yeah, and yeah, because otherwise they're just in goofy.
Oh yeah,
places.
this is right there like the Jaguar XK120. And
Now, did you make the roll bar
Yeah.
also, or
Yeah.
tell me how did? I mean, after this helped us identify the car pretty quick.
right.
What
This
is
is a 1030 steel. I don't know why it was cut here.
Yeah, I was wondering that same thing.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Is that a safety feature,
That's
though?
because you were going to do that cheating routine of
Right.
running an extra fuel line through the roll bar so you get extra fuel.
That's interesting. Someone cut it here. But
Yeah.
you would. I mean, I'm sure that doesn't look recent, but it doesn't. You wouldn't have had that, of course.
No. We had to drill somewhere. You'll find an inspection hole
Uh-huh.
on it. We had to drill an inspection hole so they could see the wall thickness.
Okay.
And it was 1030.
What color was the interior, by the way? Do you remember? It looks like it
Beige.
was a beige. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Just curious about that. And we have the dashboard and all, but it's removed from the
Yeah,
car.
the dashboard. I made the dashboard out of mahogany.
Oh.
I wanted, if I'd kept it.
Dennis, it's on the. You're looking at it right there. The dashboard. Keep going.
Blended into the
I
fabric.
Yeah, if you-
wanted to make a engine turn.
We both.
You wanted a what?
That must be our the sun's reflecting on our age or something.
Yeah, there's the dash.
So is that the one you made?
Yeah.
Can we leave it till you have it refinished? Is that the? Oh,
How about that?
There you go. Looks good.
Yeah, I wanted to take it and make an engine turn aluminum because I had a drill press and valve grinding compound and a dowel that made really good engine turn, but I didn't get around to it.
well, we still have time.
The only
Hey,
DNF
we'll
I
leave this
ever
here for a
had-
pattern, right? We'll put in.
The only DNF I ever had was due to the Prince of Darkness, and that was the Lucas fuel pump.
Ah. So you're familiar with that term, I take it.
Absolutely. We'll just let it sit in there.
Now, were there other, and you said engine modifications. You mentioned the Castrol, but I'm not sure. Did you make engine modifications
Yeah,
too? What were they again?
I took the head and ported the head and tried to clean up it so I could get really good fuel air flow
Okay.
and I did it all by hand. I took and made a pattern and used Dykem blue and ground it all by hand and ground by hand and polished by hand. And
Now, do you
Yeah.
do that on the kitchen counter, or where?
yeah, on a shop
Guys are
table.
known to do things that are not necessarily.
Right.
There are these little pieces here. I don't know if you can get one, Rick, or they're chrome cups. I'll ask about that in just a second. I'll ask you about them. I noticed the horns were mounted. Is this the Singer standard horn? It's mounted to the bottom of the chassis. There it is. There we go. See, horn here.
I like the exhaust. You would think it was a tuned exhaust, but it wasn't. I just like the way it came out. Yeah, I had the muffler shop bring it up there in front of the rear wheel.
Okay, well, there's two different exhaust pipes. Why is that?
I don't know. As far as I know, there's only one.
Well, does one bypass the muffler and the other one? Did you drive this?
I've never had a muffler on it.
Okay, no muffler. So we'll have to see. Oh, here we go. Here, what are these?
Okay. I was cooking my left foot. The exhaust was right there, and with the engine, and there's no insulation in it, and my left foot was charboiled. So I found these things.
What are they?
They're
They look like
vents
air
that
cleaners.
forced air
side
into
ground.
my clutch leg, my left leg.
Because it looks like they're on both sides of the car.
Yeah. Well,
That makes a whole lot more sense, because we had heard a story that they were for brake cooling, and we said there's no way. So
No.
cooling, just getting airflow in for your sake.
right, just for my sake. But I put one on both sides because I wanted it to look stock. I didn't want, when I went through scrutiny, them to question it.
That's
Okay.
very good.
And they did question because I had rigged up out of some number 10 cans some scoops I'd made to try to get some air to the brakes, because the brakes would fade like crazy. And I tried to scoop air to the brakes, but the scrutineers said, no, you got to take those off.
How long would a race be in time? About? I mean, what would be the shortest time you'd be on a track and the longest time? I know I'm not a racer, so I
I
don't.
would guess that we were on the track for maybe 20 to 30 minutes.
Okay. And then is that a typical? Were some longer races than that too?
I don't remember any longer ones.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, we can put this back here.
We got one stuck in the side of the car.
Oh, you got one stuck already? Let's take a look here. Let's see how they look. Did you race it with bumpers?
No.
No bumpers?
Lighter
No.
weight.
I mean, I don't have to restore the bumpers then. That's thank God. Okay, good. No bumpers in the rear either?
No bumpers, and I don't know what happened to the rear here, because when I left it, it was pristine. There's no damage.
Oh, well, that just has to be repaired. It's 50 years. I mean, even look at me. Look at my trip. I came here and I already cut myself up. I mean,
Now this, the aluminum body, all Singers have this crack.
okay.
That is a feature of Singers. They all on the left side, bottom of the.
So, Rick, we need to leave this crack here in the restoration to make it a valid, appropriate
And
singer.
I missed that, and I'm sorry. What was the explanation?
Oh,
okay.
All Singers cracked right there.
Good. Excellent.
Now, these
Over
tires.
here somewhere. I don't know. Was that Las Vegas or Arizona or Phoenix or somewhere? Anyhow, I whacked the rear of it, and so I made my repair. And when you get into restoration, you're going to find it. My repair was before Bondo, and it was a fiberglass boat resin. I mixed it with cornstarch and fibers from fiberglass cloth.
It looks good to me.
Sanded it out.
It really does.
So there's your forgotten fiberglass.
That's
And I
right.
apologize, I forgot whereabouts it is.
Now, tell me also, is the number 105 significant in any way? Is that something you pick, or is that something assigned to you? Or?
Cal Club, the number was available.
And what does the G stand for? Just so I've got
That's
it.
Class G,
Who did you race? What kind of cars did you race against in Class G?
MG, TC, TD, Alfa Romeo 1300.
How did the Singers perform against MGs?
Against MGs, MGs couldn't touch them on the starting grid because we all started from a standing start. And the MGs had a very low first gear. It was good for about 8 miles an hour. And we used to call them stump pullers. So the guys would get out there on the grid with wet towels and they would wet the rear tires of the MGs, TCs and TDs. And when the flag would drop, the guy would start off in second and he'd get wheel spin that way.
Oh, okay.
The RPM's up.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Neat. These tires, you were telling me a story of, well, let's see, why didn't more people have singers? But you didn't win your classes. You were also racing this after all the other singers have been racing in the 50s. You started racing what year with this?
I think it was 58 or 9.
Okay, and so, but who was beating you in your class?
Oh,
What kind of cars?
Porsches came and they messed things up for the Singer.
Were they also in Class G?
Well, they were in Class F. Singers were in Class F, and then Porsches came along and they dropped the Singers to Class G.
Okay, so you were then by yourself back.
Yeah,
back
back to people who are more competitive.
But
Did this have a roll bar right when you first started running it, which was 59 being the year that they required that?
No, the first time I ran this with a roll bar because they required it.
Okay, so you never ran it without.
Never ran it without. I did my other one.
Okay, yeah, the red one we saw pictures of.
I had a Bell TX500 helmet, and it was when Snell first came out with helmet, where they had done helmet testing, and also before that I'd had a Marshall helmet that was a kind of a fibrous material, and it had the leather that came down.
Right.
And so they came out and they said that they wanted everybody to have the Snell approved helmet. So I got the Bell TX500 and goggles.
Yeah, we've got some pictures of you with that.
Yeah,
We do.
and those were war surplus goggles out of some fighter plane or something. And I had a guy paint on the top of the helmet 2 eyeballs. And they said, well, why do you have eyeballs on your helmet? I said, well, I get scared going around the turn sometimes, so.
Close your eyes and
Yeah.
just feel it around the corner.
Did your Singer have a convertible top bow system too?
There was a convertible top for it. I gave the convertible top to a guy by the name of Mike Jacobson. And Mike races his dad's 1936 MG and does very well in the historic races with his dad's MG.
Okay.
He turns laps at Sonoma about 139, 140.
So you-
239, 240.
So you raced your Singer without a convertible top?
Never had a convertible top.
Good. No, these are things that it makes sense. And so you didn't use your turn signals on the track either.
No, those,
Only as a
what do they call
misguiding.
those things?
Semaphores.
Flags?
Semaphores.
Semaphore, that's it.
Well,
I did put a homemade tonneau cover on it.
Okay, is that what these are? Okay. No, these are helpful because when looking at what you want to restore, you typically, if you're restoring a race car, we wouldn't restore it as a Singer stock car. It'd be this Ralph
Yeah.
Busch's race car.
Yeah, the tonneau cover, I felt it gave better airflow.
And so your tonneau cover came over the back,
Yeah.
Over here?
And
and then it zipped around where Lorraine would sit.
came around here and attached somehow. I don't remember now.
Okay, well those are helpful things too.
And I had a little windscreen out of a piece of plexiglass that I had found somewhere and screwed it on. Those are probably the screws that held the plexiglass on.
Pretty aerodynamic, just like it is. We were coming down the freeway yesterday at 70, and not one leaf blew out of the thing.
Yeah.
Without the tonneau cover.
We're trying to see what kind of tires. It says
Those, I think those are the original tires. I think they're the first Continentals that were ever raced.
well, this is called Sempert. SEMP.
Oh, Semprit.
What's a Semper? Is that a Continental?
Yeah.
So a Sempert is a Continental?
Well, you kind of got me.
No, it's all right. Tell me about the Continentals again, because we were telling me off the camera.
I thought it was Continental, but maybe it was Semprit. All I know is that whatever tire it was the first one raced. And Eric Caldwell from Caldwell Tire down on Colorado Street and San Gabriel Boulevard, he said, I got some tires for you. 'Cause I was trying motorcycle tires. And that didn't work. I slid all over the place with those darn things. And So he said, try these tires. And it could well be that they were the Sempra. My mind maybe kind of cleared up.
Well, we don't know. I mean, they don't look like they've been replaced.
No, I don't think so.
What are the? Is this for something different than a bumper, or was this the original bumper?
Oh, I welded that on to put a tow bar on it.
Oh, okay. Hey, Rick. Ralph was saying, go ahead and tell me again. These are. I was asking about the bumper mounts or something, and that's for what?
Yeah, welded those on, and we had a tow bar. Right. We tried to load it on a trailer from the NXG Special, a Corvette powered Special. Where were we going? Were we going to Arizona or Nevada or somewhere? And I couldn't get the car up on the ramp, so I returned the trailer and we welded the brackets and put a tow bar on it and towed it behind the car. Always disconnected the drive shaft, which they said you do when you tow. Back then, I don't know, maybe.
Did you ever upgrade the carburetors? These are Solex. You mentioned something before about Solex. Were these always Solex?
I think those are Solex.
Yeah, Solex.
Yeah.
Is that what you had on it before?
Uh-huh. Right.
And plates? Did you put any identification plates? The Ralph Busch Special or
No.
the headlights? He still has. He just has to find them.
Yeah.
He's got them packed away somewhere. And Rick, am I leaving anything?
He cannibalized that and the radiator. Those are two things that he kept.
Okay.
And he had another Singer. Actually, his father had a couple other Singers, but they needed the radiator and the water pump for those others, so that's going to be a necessity.
Were these windows, or these were the top bows here?
Right.
Yeah.
Were on. So this you never had a top on it, so it doesn't matter. Okay.
Mike Jacobs, from the guy who races the vintage MG, he lives here in Pasadena somewhere. You might find him in the phone book. He could give you some.
Is that Jacobs or Jacobs?
Oh,
Jacob's son.
yeah, we've done we could reach him through Mark. Mark interviewed him for the story. Remember, they're doing another story on the car.
Uh-huh.
And
No, Mike was the one who saw it on the internet and recognized it right off the bat. And so he contacted me and said, go to the internet to this goofy website. He said, that's your old Singer, I know. You can tell by the roll bar. And sure enough.
Now, am I missing anything, Rick, in terms of questions we'd have? Or we want to?
Well, good.
We'll put this on video for you too. So we'll send you.
A couple other questions. In terms of races that you would have won, did you actually have any outright victories in Class G?
Yeah. I don't know. Got quite a few little trophies and nothing ever spectacular.
Right.
In my Thunder Roadster, boy, you ought to see the trophies I got for that sucker.
Now,
Did
were
this-
you always within the SCCA, or was there another sanctioning body? you
There were
in?
two. There was called the Road Race Register. We ran it
Triple R.
with them and SCCA.
Okay.
And SCCA then got on my case. A guy by the name of Don Ricardo. He owned. He was the director of the NBC Orchestra.
Yeah.
And
Just heard
he
about
got
him
on my
yesterday.
case. He was always on my case.
Why? About what?
Oh, this or that. I don't know. I wasn't racing a Mercedes-Benz 300 SL,
Right.
so
Yeah.
anything that was not one of those was beneath him.
Yeah.
Him and Jim Peterson, or Patterson, they lived over on Mendocino Street, and Jim raced a Jaguar XK120. And he was a director of competition or something for California. He was one of the first people to go out and survey the site that became Riverside Raceway.
Oh, okay. Now, what tracks did you run at? I mean, do you have a recollection of running at 5 or 6 different racetracks, or how
Yeah.
many did this car actually run at?
Yeah, we went to Willow Springs and Santa Barbara, and Las Vegas, Valley of the Sun in Phoenix, Pomona.
That's 5.
Now, did you ever run at Riverside? In other words, once they built that, my recollection, I can recall around 1961 that it was open. I don't know if it opened before then, but...
We ran the Jaguar XK120 at Riverside in the inaugural.
Oh, okay.
That's
oh,
the picture that I showed you with Lorraine sitting in the front.
Okay. Now, did this ever run at Riverside?
No. I don't know why.
Would you consider this to have been better on a tight, shorter track? Or was this
no
decent?
long straightaways for this thing.
Okay.
You know, it's got the aerodynamics of a brick.
Right. What, in terms of in top gear, in high gear, at your red line, what did you red line this engine at? Like 4,500 or 5 or so, or what?
I don't remember.
Okay. I had a little tack.
And I put some fingernail polish on it.
Right.
It was about that big around.
Okay.
And you might see it in the pictures of it, and you might be able to tell where
Oh, okay. That's a good idea.
that was my red line.
All right.
Where was the tack mounted?
It seemed to me right about
Maybe I guess through here
there. Yeah.
or something here. So did you run the windshield, the full windshield, or
No, I had a little piece of plexiglass.
okay?
Now,
Yeah.
do you recall ever blowing the engine?
No, I blew the engine on my first one. Broke the crankshaft.
Now the seatbelts, you just ran the one. You had 2 seats, but just one. Were there 2 sets of seatbelts? It was always just one driver. You never drove this thing with 2.
Never anybody else in the car.
Any Gymkhana events, or mostly just all the race events? Just racing events?
Uh,
Well, I know they had other kind of races going on in performance. Sometimes people had what I call Gymkhana or
Oh, yeah. No.
autocross or other.
No. Well, I take it back. We did have one. Remember?
Yeah, the Singer Hill Climb. It was a hill climb.
Duffy Livingstone's go-kart.
You have a better memory than I do.
Yeah, Duffy Livingstone out in Azusa. He had this track. He's the original builder of go-karts.
Mhm.
And Duffy ran a Model T bodied sports racer called the Eliminator. And I wish I could see the Eliminator. It was a hoot. He had it painted white and he had red polka dots on it. Anyhow, he had a go-kart track there that was kind of like a slalom course, but had some up and down and around. And I'm going to say that it was maybe a mile in length.
Mhm.
Maybe a little more, because the guy who won, who had the overall best time, was George Fulmer. And George had it was either 58 second or 158, and I had a 148, and I was a 153.
And that was on that little track.
Yeah.
Cute. What are these here? I'm looking at these.
Well,
Was that what you, was
this
it
was
seems to me.
attached to this plate back here,
Okay.
and here's where the seat belt attached to.
Okay, so that's a seatbelt for. There's 2 things here. Was it 2 seatbelts for 2 seats or one?
Yeah, I think we had to have, by rules, we had to have a second seat and seat belt.
Okay.
Oh my.
And 105. Rick, am I forgetting anything? The brake lights and all, and no bumpers. It's a solid little car still, Berg. Now, you
Now, this
didn't.
is a 4-speed without first gear synchro, is that correct? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
All we have to do is find some photos of you at the front coming across with the checkered flag.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
Now, first gear in this apparently wasn't as low as it was
Oh
in
no,
those
first gear in
MGs.
this was
Was
very
it
docile.
usable up to what, 15 or so miles an hour?
I
or-
guess so, but it was docile compared to the MDs.
Tires, engines. Did you ever do anything with the transmission at all?
No.
Solid
The only thing I
transmission?
did was extend the gear lever.
Okay.
And clutch situation, you had a fairly durable clutch?
Yeah, good clutch.
And no muffler.
No mufflers.
Any street driving? Was this?
Sure,
Was this?
I drove it to the races every here and there.
So, but you tow barred it too.
Yeah.
So you.
If we went a longer distance, we towed it. But if it was Pomona or
Vegas. we go.
Santa Barbara or something, we drove it on the street.
So Vegas, you would tow it, but something close by, you'd.
yeah.
So no, you'd have to have 2 seats then.
No,
Did you bring more than one car? I guess
I
it's.
remember sitting in it.
I think we took another car, didn't we?
That would make sense. I mean, you know, it's the old what if it breaks down during the race, then, you know.
I think we took that ridiculously underpowered Chevrolet station wagon. That car,
It was a green.
that car wouldn't even cross the painted line in the street. It was so underpowered.
What year was it?
Gosh, I don't know. Must have been about 1949 or 50 or something.
So this would open up to slow you down like one of those jet
yeah.
planes. It
In
would.
fact, it happened.
Really?
Roger Sloey was driving it at Las Vegas, and it opened up, and the announcer kept saying this. The Singer's got its air brakes deployed. That was back when the Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, 300
Yeah.
SLR.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
Now, so there was more than one driver. You drove it, but who else drove
well, that was the only time Roger drove it. He was a Morgan driver.
it? And what was his name?
Roger Slowy.
Slowy.
S-L-O-W-I. And he was in the Singer Owner Club, and so is his sister Jean Bramble. And Roger was a very successful Morgan driver. He had some great races with Danny Stevenson on Austin Healey 100. They had some real dunning bucks.
Why was he driving it at Las Vegas instead of you?
Something was wrong with his Morgan, and he wanted the points because he was
Oh, that was nice.
pushing for regional points.
Would you have had a back seat in place? I was joking before about the back seat, but would you have had the back seat still here?
Never.
Boy, this is maybe easier to restore than I thought, Rick. I mean, there's a lot of pieces that don't necessarily need to be in place that would be expensive.
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing is, all of these pieces are here. They may not be perfect, like that bottom piece, but by golly, at least you've got a good template for
Yeah.
recreating this stuff.
So no back seat. So I wonder what would have been here? Just carpeting or something. Because I can see this here.
Yeah.
Here, it felt like there was a cushion. Maybe we'll see it in some of the pictures.
Well, for race sake,
Wouldn't
you really
need
don't
anything.
need anything there.
Yeah.
You'd be better off not having anything.
Don't
And
let
you got
it
an
flare
inspection plate, kind of a situation for
Right.
possibly checking fluid or whatever on
And-
the rear end.
Now, do you see how little distance there is between the back of the seat without a cushion and here? Were you as thin as my arm?
I don't know how I got in. That's what I'm saying. I did get in.
How does, I mean, I couldn't, if I got in, I would have Rick stand by calling the paramedics in Altadena or Panda.
I was pregnant and I got in it.
How?
I don't remember.
She was such a great sport.
I was
can't-
a little thinner too.
Well, maybe,
Can't say enough good things about Lorraine. She's such a wonderful sport, and goofing off with me with this dumb thing and the other cars that we've.
Golly, you two have been a good pair.
well, it's interesting to see because I wouldn't be able to drive this. If I lose weight, I don't think I could get in here and drive it. But I wonder if this went further back. No?
I don't remember.
You want to try getting in?
Seems to be securely
You
anchored.
want to get in it.
You want to try getting in? Oh, we could try. We get a blanket or so. Let me get a.
I'll hold this, so you don't
Okay.
have to worry about that.
I remember getting in, but I don't know how I did it.
All right.
Oh, there's that gear lever. There we are.
Rick, let's get some pictures too. Though this is. Well, see, I'm glad you actually got in because
In a moment, but right now,
Rick, can you get some shots?
yeah.
Even from this one, from. And Lorraine, yeah, I think Lorraine would like you to get the picture too.
I just want to see how it gets. I can't remember with his long legs.
He's pretty
that's all.
talented, isn't he? I'll be able to squeeze.
Looks good.
Very limber, but
Here, smile over here,
As
guys.
far as it goes.
Lorraine, smile over here. Over here, Ralph. Hey, Ralph. Okay, here we go.
Look how big the steering wheel is.
No.
Yeah, isn't that something? These days it's thick, tiny wheel.
we got it. You
Like a
needed
Moto
leverage.
Lito.
You needed leverage. You didn't have power steering.
Hey, let's make it look like we're going about 80.
Yay! All right.
Okay.
You are a great sport. That's fantastic.
These are great.
Did I tell you about the coveralls that we had?
No.
Oh. There was a guy who was a lumberman up in Arcata. His name was Lou Brero. And Lou drove a 2-liter Ferrari.
Okay.
And over in the Hawaii races in Honolulu, his drive shaft broke and punctured his gas tank, and the pan filled with gas and ignited. And although Lou dove out, he didn't survive. So then they said, oh, we got to have a better way of surviving for our drivers. So they got these big wash tubs, galvanized wash tubs, and they filled them with borax and starch. And you had to buy coveralls. And you went, and when you went through tech inspection, you took your coveralls and you dipped them in the borax starch solution, and you had to take them home and drip dry them.
Right.
So you'd go to the track, and these things were as stiff as boards.
I bet.
And you'd get into them, and all the stuff would flake off. There'd be this big pile of goofy flaking stuff where you were standing. Oh my, Nomex is so much better.
There's a horn on this car. Would you have had the horn on it originally? A horn.
I don't know if I would have taken it off for lightweight or not.
It's mounted
I might
so
have-
low that your center of gravity is actually maybe improved. by it.
I might have left it on to get people out of my way.
Darn right.
Get those MGs out of the way, right? As you're getting-
Slowpoke MGs, man.
Can you imagine we drove these crazy things? Am I free to get out yet?
Lorraine, if you can just step back a
Yeah, I'm
moment.
gonna sit back over here.
I'm going to shoot a few with just Ralph here.
You can see why the doors were cut down. If they ran it all the way across, there's no room for your elbow.
Exactly.
But that's an original feature, right? That's a
Yes. Oh yeah.
yeah.
Banging your elbows on the whole race.
Why didn't you drive an MG?
Why didn't I?
Why didn't you want an MG?
Makes sense to drive.
The
Bigger engine.
the singers were cheaper.
Okay.
He was a school teacher.
I mean,
Same thing.
you can't get an MG for a cup of coffee and a donut. It takes at least 2 donuts.
But the singers always beat the, or could easily beat the
Oh
MGs.
yeah.
Lorraine, if you could
Why
just
did they?
sit in the other
But did they
chair,
have a good
you've got your
reputation?
leg sitting-
The singer?
There you
Yeah.
go. Thank you.
Yeah.
That better?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Why were they not then more coveted? Why did not people want more of them? I mean, Ferraris weren't